I'm going to tell you something awesome about Claude Fable. But first, imagine this. Imagine you are hiring a brand new employee. Okay? You hired the employee, this employee has no experience, it's the first job, and when the employee comes and joins you, will you tell the employee, go ahead and handle this client? No, you won't. You would write them a full checklist. Do this first, then make sure this happens, then this happens. Don't touch this until you have done the other thing, and always check with me before you send anything out. That checklist is to help out this new employee. It's kindness. It's what a beginner, an absolute beginner needs. Now imagine sometime later you hire someone with 15 years of experience in that same role. If you hand that person out the same beginner checklist, step 1, step 2, step 3, don't deviate, ask me, make sure this happens, what will happen? That employee with 15 years of experience who knows a lot will follow that checklist. Exactly. Even when their own judgment says there's a faster and better way of doing things. So you know what you have done? You've taken someone capable of independent thinking and forced them to perform like a beginner. And because that's what the instructions told them to do. That is almost word for word the problem Anthropic just told everyone using Claude Fable that they have. Essentially, Claude Fable is much smarter than any other model. You can't give it the same set of instructions. You have to treat it like a grown-up experienced model. So if you've got a save Claude prompt, a skill, a project file, a big system prompt you've been working on for months, you need to think about that employee story for a second, because you'll have to take it all apart. And you know what? Towards the latter half of the video, I'm going to tell you how to completely eliminate the task of writing prompts. Fable will write the prompt for you. You never have to write prompts again. Anthropic shipped Claude Fable with something most model releases don't usually get, an entire dedicated guide on how to talk to it. It's not some sort of a technical document or some log or something, or a balance sheet or anything. It's a document whose whole purpose is telling you to communicate with Fable differently than you communicated with everything before it. While looking through the guide, there's one line that made me stop scrolling. And I'm going to quote straight from the guide, okay? It's about skills that you build for older models are, quote, often too prescriptive for Fable. And, quoting again, they degrade the output quality. It's not about not failing to help or not making things better, they actually make it worse. That's crazy. Why would giving an AI model more instruction make it perform worse? It's exactly because of what I told you before about that employee. You can't give an experienced, grown-up, brilliant, much better thinking employee some basic instructions. It'll just make them do worse than what they can do. That part sounds backwards. When you think back about the new hire story, then you realize that you can't give a 15-year veteran a beginner's checklist. It doesn't make them better, it makes them smaller. It shrinks them down to fit the instructions instead of letting them use what they actually know. So what it is that if the old style detailed instructions are the problem, what do you replace them with? And here's the good news. The guide doesn't ask for something complicated. It boils down to 3 basic shifts. I'm going to explain each one the way I'd explain it to a friend who has never written a prompt in their life, okay? I'm going to do it very simply. Shift 1, tell it why, not just what. Most of us write prompts like a to-do list. Write me a summary, make it 300 words, use bullet points. That's the what. What the guide asks for instead is the why. Who is this for and what do you actually want? What do you actually need it to do for them once they have it? Something like, I'm building this for a client who's deciding whether to renew a contract. They need to see the risk clearly in the first line. Same task, but now the model understands the point of the task, not just the shape of it, not just the what of it, the why of it. And when it understands the point, it stops needing you to spell out every step because it can work backward from the goal on its own. That's the first shift. Shift number 2 is tell it what it should never do without asking. This one's simple and it matters because Fable is more proactive than older models. It sometimes takes an action nobody asked for. Drafting an extra email, making a backup it wasn't told to make. So the fix isn't a giant list of rules, it's one clear boundary. If you're just asking a question or thinking out loud, it should give you its answer and stop there. Not go and act on without you saying so. One sentence, that's the whole instruction. And now comes the third shift. Give it a way to check its own work. For anything that runs for a while, long tasks, multi-step jobs, the guide recommends building a checkpoint. Have it verify what it actually did against what it was supposed to do, using a fresh look at the evidence, not just trusting its own summary of itself. Think of it like asking someone to proofread their own essay with fresh eyes, instead of just skimming it once and calling it done. That's it. Why? Boundaries and a way to double check itself. So these are the basic 3 ideas that you need to think of. Simple. Who's going to keep the entire guide in their mind and think of all these things every time? Which is why we come to the part where it gets genuinely useful. And if you just read the guide and try to incorporate its information into your prompting, you're going to miss this part, which is quite awesome. You don't have to remember these 3 shifts every single time you sit down to write a prompt or remember any of the guide, because you can build all of it, the entire guide, everything Anthropic just told us, into one single Claude skill. A skill you only have to build once. And if you don't know what a skill is something very, very simple. How you can do a skill. Suppose you have this, you have an idea of how to create a thumbnail. You've got 5 things that you usually keep in mind when you create a thumbnail. Write it out, give it to Claude, put it in the chat box, this how to write a thumbnail instruction, and then say, after it, create a skill from this. Claude will go over it and then it will tell you, okay, the skill is done. Just click the button that says apply skill or something like that, and you're done. That's how simple it is to create a skill. That skill is a repeatable set of instructions, as simple as that. So now coming back to the skill we are talking about. Instead of a skill that helps with one specific task like writing blog posts or summarizing documents, we are now going to build a skill whose entire job is writing prompts for you. You tell it in plain language what you're trying to get Claude Fable to do, and it hands you back a fully structured prompt with the why, the boundaries, and the self-check already built in, ready to paste straight into Fable, directly using the information in the guide. Awesome. So the skill itself contains the guide's complete information and knowledge as its instructions. When someone gives you a task, don't just relate. Ask yourself who it's for and what they need from it, and write that reasoning in. Add an explicit line about what should not happen without asking first. If the task sounds like it will take a while, add a checkpoint instruction. That's the entire skill. It's the guide condensed into something that runs itself. So here's how I am creating the skill. I have copied the entire Anthropic guide. By the way, the link is there to the guide is there in the description. I pasted it there. You can just check it out. Okay, now after copying the entire guide, I'm pasting it into Claude, and then I'm writing, create a prompting skill for Fable 5 using the instructions and knowledge in this guide. And use this skill every time I ask for a prompt for Fable. That's what I'm writing, okay? And it's done. And all I need to do now is save the skill. That's how simple it is, by the way. Now, let's try it out. Now watch. I'm going to give it something very rough, the way any one of us would actually type a request. I will invoke the skill by typing / and then choosing the skill name, Fable 5 prompt skill. Then something like this. Help me write a prompt for creating an interactive website on how citizens can increase India's green cover. Okay, I just started up. That's it. That's all I gave it. Look what comes back. A complete structured prompt designed specifically for Fable that has all the instructions of the guide baked into it. Who this is for and why. And it wrote that reasoning into the prompt. It added a boundary. It built in a checkpoint so Fable checks its own work partway through. I typed one rough sentence. It gave me back the kind of prompt that would have taken a lot of effort and time for me to write by hand. Frankly, I probably wouldn't have written a prompt like this at all. I wouldn't have had the patience. That's what let Claude Fable prompt itself, let Fable prompt itself actually means. Not that it does the task without you telling it what you want. It's that once you have built this one skill, you never have to sit down and manually apply the guide's rules again. The skill already knows them. Now, to be straight with you, because I don't want to oversell this, you are still the one deciding what you actually want. You still type the original request. What's changed is you don't have to personally remember the guide's rules anymore. The skill applies them for you every time, consistently, even on a day when you're tired and would have just typed a lazy one-line prompt for yourself. So it's not Fable operates with no input from you. It's you no longer have to be the one holding the whole guide in your head. That's important. And I think we should be very honest about what Fable does. And there's no need to, promise something impossible. So delete your prompts, not literally all of them. Delete the habit of writing every single one from scratch. Build the guide into a skill once and let that skill do the writing for you from here on. I'll drop the skill file in the description. It's very easy to build, so you can build it on your own. If you do build your own version, I'd love to know how it worked out. Frankly, this is also new that I think we're all still figuring out what works and what breaks. So that's it. If you like this video, do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next one.